Welcome back, everyone present in the class. I hope I'm audible to all. Good morning, every one of you. So now it's time to start the journey of aspect-oriented programming. Aspect-oriented programming. Spring AOP. So I hope I'm audible to everyone. All of you are there to listen to me today. Yes, no, maybe. Great. What is the main purpose of AOP, guys? See, every time you develop an application, there are two types of logic we develop. Logic number one is the business logic. Business logic refers to the main logic of the application. Main logic of the application, or you can say the purpose of application. Purpose of application. The main actual functionality for what you have developed the application. Example, the main logic of Telesco is to give you information about the courses, what courses we have about the Telesco, some information, and main logic is to give the information about the courses. If you visit the university, maybe to get some information, different occasion, different purpose, maybe at the time of result, your main purpose is to get the result by entering the university number. So every application will have the actual logic, the main logic for which application is built. Apart from this, every application, we will also have cross-cutting logic. Cross-cutting logic means secondary logic, which is there to support the main logic, to support the business logic. If you don't write this logic, it's not that your application will not work. Secondary component or the logic. Example, handling the exceptions. Exception handling is a secondary logic. If you don't handle the exception, it's fine. At least the main logic will not be affected. But sometimes it may generate an exception if you enter the wrong ID and all of that. That's fine. But the main logic of an application will not be much affected if there is no exceptions. Logging. I had asked you to watch my Log4j videos available in the Telesco YouTube channel or in your course dashboard. Both places it is there. Security. So and so. A logic which is there to support the actual logic. This is not the purpose of the application. Our end users will not be bothering whether the loggings have been written or not, whether the exceptions are being handled or not. All of these things, the end user will not focus. End user focus is for whatever purpose they're using the application, that functionality should work. And to support that functionality, whatever logic we write is only called as cross-cutting logic, the secondary logic. Now, AOP, aspect-oriented programming, is there to separate business logic and the cross-cutting logic. Business logic and the cross-cutting logic. Like the way we have done in our global exception handling example, guys. Have you not separated the exception handling part and the actual business logic of the application? Yes, no, maybe. Have you seen one of the use case of AOP there in the global exception handling RESTful services application? So using this AOP concept, we can have separate the main purpose of application. Business logic. The secondary logic. And what happens is AOP at the runtime will integrate this. AOP will integrate the business logic and secondary logic at the time of execution. Guys, have you all not seen that? Have you done something extra, guys, to inform that if there is an exception, it should not go to your API method, it should go to the separate class? Have you written some extra code inside the a service layer or inside the controller method that if it is an exception, it should go to a separate class? Don't you think it is automatically at the runtime integrated? The business logic and the secondary logic in the global exception handling example? Yes, no, maybe. All of you are there with me? Or maybe no. You can say no also. So that's the main purpose. Generic idea about AOP. Are you all getting it, my dear friends? Now, whenever AOP comes into picture, there are some important terminologies which you must know. Important components comes into picture. Aspect, advise, target, join point, point cut, waiving, proxy class. Many important terminologies comes into picture whenever AOP is there. What is the purpose of AOP? You have seen it. And practically also in our RESTful services, we have developed the application. But now we are trying to understand that. All these terminologies comes into picture. Fine, every one of you? Yes, no, maybe. Now, these terminologies are quite confusing if you don't focus here. The first one which I would like to talk here is about the aspect. What is aspect? Aspect means cross-cutting logic. Cross-cutting logic. That means such a logic which contains the secondary logic, supporting logic. We call that as aspect. For example, whether it is a logging, Spring security part, exception handling, all this comes under the aspect. If someone says the term aspect in AOP, in your application development term, you have to come to a conclusion they are talking about the secondary logic. Point number one, tick mark. Yes, no, maybe. The next important term here is advise. Advise defines at what moment, when aspect logic should execute. When aspect logic should execute. First of all, aspect means the logic which is secondary, which is supporting to the main logic. Exception handling in all of that comes under aspect. Advice means whatever aspect is there, no. The secondary logic is there, no. When that should be executed. In our global exception handling example, we had used one annotation called as REST controller advice. That means this advice when should get executed. Whatever aspect you have written, right? Exception handling part you have written, when that should execute, REST controller advice. That means whenever exception is coming to REST controller, whenever application, no exception is coming to the exception, no, the API, REST API methods, only then that should get executed. Have you practically also seen that, my dear friends? Yes, no, maybe. So advice here, if I have to go back here into my application and if I have to show you global exception handling, one example we had discussed. See, advice I had written here. Annotation which I have used is REST controller advice. That means when the aspect is this, the secondary logic, when this aspect should get executed, this aspect should get advice should decide when it should get executed. Whenever the exception is coming to a class which is annotated with REST controller. That means whenever exception might be thrown to a controller class, REST controller class, at that moment I want this secondary logic to be executed. That annotation I have used here. I will take more examples also. When aspect should get executed. Before advice. We have many things here also, not just about REST controller advice. Before advice. After advice. Around advice. Throws advice. Apart from whatever we have seen. What do you mean by this? Before advice decides, before executing the business logic. This is getting, the aspect should get executed before executing the business logic. Executes before business logic. It executes after business logic. It executes before and after both. Before and after business logic. And throws, it will be executed when exception is given. It will be executed when exception is there. REST controller advice is there before coming to REST API, which we have seen practically also. Other things we will see in the today's class. So guys, what is aspect? The actual secondary logic. What is advice? That secondary logic must get executed when? Before the main logic, after the main logic, when exception is coming to the controller, REST controller advice. It decides when the secondary logic should be executed. So far, so good, everyone. Any confusions or ambiguity here, guys? Please look at to the screen and tell me. Can we discuss the other important key terminologies? The next part comes into picture is the target. Target is a class which contains the actual logic of application, which is actual business logic of application, actual purpose of an application, or I can say main functionality. For what is that you have kept in your mind at the time of development, actual functionality of the application. Target refers to the actual functionality of your application, the business logic. Advice, aspect, target. Clear, guys? Now comes two important terminologies, which is join point and point cut. Join point and point cut. At what is that exact point where secondary logic should integrate with business logic, primary logic, or you can say business logic. All of them are referring to same. What is that exact point? The integration of the secondary and the business logic should happen. Getting it? All of you present in the class? Guys, advice is different. When aspect logic should get executed? Rest controller advice we have seen, which shows whenever exception is coming on the head of controller class, rest controller class, at that moment, a class which is annotated with rest controller advice should get executed. When it's clear. Joint point means what is that exact point where secondary logic and the primary logic will meet. Then we have something called as point cut. Which primary logic or the business logic method secondary logic to be applied on? Secondary logic should be applied on. What is that point? I mean, is it like everywhere you want to apply the AOP concept, whatever secondary logic aspect you have written, right? Do you want to apply aspect on every method of your business logic? See, the default nature is, let me add this point here. By default, Suresh, please listen here. I will tell you. By default, secondary logic or the aspect, secondary logic means what, guys? Aspect will be applied to all methods of target. Target means what, guys? The business logic. Target means business logic. Aspect means secondary logic. By default, whatever aspect you write, the secondary logic you write, it will be applied to all the business logic methods. By using the point cut expression, which I will use and show you also in practically by developing an application. By writing the point cut expression, you can decide out of all the business logic, your aspect should be applied to whether all the methods or should it be applied to specific business logic methods. That can be decided using the point cut. Yes, Suresh, secondary logic means aspect. Both of them are same. Fine, my dear friends. Guys, what is target first of all? What is a target, guys? Target means what? Main logic, right? The main logic. In the main logic, all the methods we have. Business logic number 1, business logic method number 2, business logic method number 3. What is aspect? The secondary logic. Secondary logic. It is like logging, exception handling, so and so. Now, this is applied to all the methods. You can decide using one annotation called as point cut. Point cut expression that this should be applied only to this method. If you don't specify, then by default, all the secondary logic will be applied to all the business logic. All the methods by default, that is the default nature. But if you want this to be applied only on the specific business methods, then using the point cut expression, you have to specify that it should be applied only here, not everywhere. Are you all getting it, guys? Yes, no, maybe. Now the question is, how will you decide that aspect should be applied to a specific functionality of the application? What is aspect secondary logic? How should we use, guys? How should we define? What is use to decide that the business logic should be applied where and all? Point cut. Others in the class, are you all there with me, please? Just to reiterate, what is aspect, my dear friends? What is aspect? Secondary logic. What is advice? When that aspect should be applied on this? At what moment? When the aspect should be used? Target, that's the main logic. Join point, what is that one point where secondary logic and the primary logic will integrate? Example, in our application of controller, if it is an exception which is coming, this is the exact point it will meet. If it's the exception which is coming here, it supports method level join points. What is point cut? By default, the nature is whenever you write the aspect secondary logic, that will be applied to every method of your business logic. But using the point cut expression, you can specify, you can control that AOP should be applied only here or not. Or by default, the default nature is it will be applied to everywhere. So far, so good. Yep. Now, one more term which I was discussing is weaving. It is a process of combining target and aspect. Process of combining target means main logic, aspect means secondary logic. This is the process is called as weaving. And this weaving process will generate a proxy class. When combining the target and aspect, and this proxy class will be executed at runtime by Spring AOP. You need not to do something extra for this. And practically we have seen, have we done something extra in our global exception handling example, guys? Have we written in our service layer or in our controller that if exception is generating, it should go to a separate class? Did we specify anything? No, it was a default. It is secondary logic and the main logic automatically got integrated at the runtime without you specifying. And that is what the process of that integration is only called as weaving. Fine, now? All good, everyone in the class? Done? Yes, no, maybe. Now let's develop one simple application, guys, where I have implemented the AOP concept in our applications before. This is the implementation of AOP. But apart from that, let's develop one more application which will summarize what we have, especially the point cuts and everything. I'll go back here. I'm having project Java. Any version is fine. I will say com.terisco. I will say maybe AOP application. And I would like to go back here, guys. See, if I add here AOP, are you getting any separate dependency, guys? AOP. If I say Spring AOP, are you getting something? Or maybe if I say aspect oriented, no. So that means AOP is by default available in the Spring. If you go with Spring Boot, if you go with normal Spring application without boot, then you have to add Spring Core library also. Have you not seen, guys? If you don't go with Spring Boot, even for Spring Core, you had to add the library. You had to add the dependency. But right now, in the Spring Boot, by default, it is available. I want to create an API method. Web, I want to store in the database. So data JPA, I want to use MySQL database, MySQL driver, and then automatic deployment. I want to use this. For now, this is sufficient, I guess. I would like to take this, guys. Just to reiterate, tomorrow we don't have a class. We have class on next Monday. Spring security is a topic which I'm going to start. The topics which I'll discuss now is Spring security, multi-DB configuration, Kafka, Redis, microservices, and what is the alternative of RESTful services. To create a REST API, what is the alternative we have apart from what we have done? So these are the topics which I would like to discuss in the upcoming classes coming from the Monday. I would like to go here. I'll say import existing Maven project. Next, browse. So the project is browsing, guys. It will take some time. I would like to go back here. The required dependencies have been added. I'll create some packages. First of all, I'll say right click, new. I'll create package. The first package is our entity class, our model on what type of data we are working on. The next package is our DAO layer, the repository layer. The next package is, I would like to go with the REST services API. The next package is our service layer. Fine. Yes, no, maybe. And the next is our advice. Advice referring to what? Advice referring to the secondary logic, the aspect. Fine. So I would like to go back here and say aspect or as advice, the AOP logic. I'll have to go back here. I'll say refresh. It's done. The model I would like to work first. I'd like to go here. Any class, guys. Let's go with alien. Simple. As all of you know, I would not like to write multiple parameters here, fields here. It's not needed. I would like to keep it simple. Private. Int is a type of ID. Private. String type of name. I'll say private. String type of city. I would like to go back here. I'll say ID, which is our primary key. Then I would like to go and generate the setters and getters. Let me generate. If you use Lombok, guys, this manual generation is not needed. If you attach one annotation called as data at the top of your entity class, internally it will only generate setters and getters. It will write setters, getters, whatever you want. Constructors, predefined constructor, I mean zero parameterized constructor, everything automatically will be generated. If you go with Project Lombok, I will show that demonstration also. It's not a big thing. It's just that if you use some annotations at the top of the class, instead of you going and asking your IDs to generate or manually creating setters, getters, and all, it will only take care. But Project Lombok sometimes creates the issue. It is a third party, right? So I have personally seen some of the applications are getting affected because of the Lombok, which I personally don't appreciate. Again, for that there is a debates, guys, that it's good or bad. I don't want to comment on this, but I personally, my experience in development and both in guiding you on the Spring Boot, I have faced some issues randomly sometimes because of the Lombok. But you can use it. I will demonstrate also. What is that? You need not to manually write this. After writing the fields, at the top of the class, just write one annotation called as data. Finish. Everything will be by default included. It's just to ace the Pojo creation. That's it. I would like to go back here and go with the interface. I'll say here I alien repositories, any of the repositories of your own choice. As a good practice, even if you don't write, it will not make anything. But as a good practice, please do write it. Repository. Repository. I would like to import it. Done, my dear friends. After which I'll go back to my service layer. I'll go and create one interface here. I'll say here I alien service is the name of the interface. I would like to specify what operations you would like to perform here. I would like to say here the operations first is registering the alien. I'll say here alien type of some two operations I will do, guys, so that I can demonstrate whatever we have seen. So real time use, one of the example we have already seen. Though we had not completed AOP, you understood directly. It's that easy. But some important terminologies which is confusing is what I have discussed in today's class. Public list of alien, get all aliens info. I'll go and write in class. I would like to write one class here. I'll say alien service is the name of the class. I would like to add this. I'll say here I alien service. All right. At the top, I would like to go here and say service. And as normal, everyone knows the logic here. Very simple logic. I would like to say here return repository dot save method. Repository auto wiring I have not yet done. I'll go and say here private I alien repo. I alien repo. I would like to go at the top of this class and I would like to use here auto dependency injection. Done. I'll say here repository dot save. I'll save this alien information and you know very well save method return type is whatever data you're storing. Here I would like to go back and say repository dot find all. Done. Very simple logic, guys. Anyone has any confusions or ambiguities here? No, right? As normal, I'll go back to my rest. I will go here. And I would like to just go and create one class. I will say here alien controller, whatever is the name. And you all know very well, I have to go and write here one annotation called as rest controller. I would like to go back here and I would like to say here private I alien service type service. Same old story, guys. So far, I have not yet gone through anything. Okay. I alien service. I have to import it. Cannot be resolved. I alien service. I may have to import. I have imported. And as all of you know, it is just auto wiring. I would like to say here, guys, public. The return type is a response entity. I'll say here alien. I will say here register alien. I would like to say a request body. Alien type of alien is what I'm expecting. And everyone knows this very well. Great. After which I'll say here service dot. I would like to say register the alien. I will pass the alien which I'm receiving. And as all of you know, I would like to collect the alien information. Alien information. Type AL. And you know very well, I'll say here return new response entity. I will say here alien is the type of data which we are returning. And I will say here, what is that I'm returning, guys? This alien object, comma. I will say HTTP status dot created. Very simple logic. And it should be binded to which mapping, guys? Post mapping. Same old story. No change. I would like to say here maybe add alien is the endpoint. I would like to go back here. I would like to say here get mapping. I will say here get alien. I will say here list. I will say here get all aliens. I need not to pass anything here. I would like to go back and say list. I'll say here status code as dot OK. And after which, as all of you know, I'll say service dot get all aliens. I will store that in the list of aliens type aliens, and that aliens I would like to specify inside the response body to my client. Response body to my client. I have imported. All good. Done. Saved it. Right now, did we implement any AOP, guys? Anywhere did we implement the aspect logic? Did I write anywhere aspect? No, right? It's normal application. The main functionality of your application. I would like to go back here. Of course, I may have to add the dependencies. I may have to add this application dot properties configuration, the data source and the web configurations. This is a must. All right. Let me go here because we need one more. JPA is what we are using. Since we are using JPA, I'm in need of one more. So It's not there. Context path is not needed for me, is what I felt. I have added this. Apart from this, I want to also add the JPA part, this lazy loading part. Okay, I have added whatever is needed. All right, saved. Then guys, I'll go back here and execute the application. Right click, run as. I'll deploy my application. I'm deploying onto the embedded Tomcat server. The application will be deployed. Application is deployed. Now I'd like to go back to my Postman tool. I would like to visit here 8484 is the endpoint. Let me go to the post request. I'll say here 8484 slash. I will say here add alien is the actual endpoint. Body is of what type? JSON type. And what is the data we are sending? I would like to add the data here. I would like to add this data. Okay. JSON type, body. What is that I want to add? Three informations are there. Number one is ID. Number two is name. Number three is city. ID is 2. Name is Rohan. And city is Bengaluru. Add alien. I'm making a point, guys. It is working. I'm getting the response. I'll go back here to any of the get request. I will say here get. See, I'm getting the data. Already some data is there by the name Rohan. Maybe one database is already there. I would like to go back again. I will add one more record. I will say here Rohit. I will say here Mumbai. Guys, I have registered and also I'm getting the result. Just tell me one thing, my dear friends. Is your application working fine? The main purpose of the application working fine? Did I write the secondary logic, guys? Did I handle the exceptions? Did I write security? Did I write loggings? So are you understanding the aspect means what? The main logic of the application means what? Now, will my end user bother, guys, whether the secondary logic is implemented, not implemented? Will my end user bother about it? No. He's least bother about it. End user main functionality should work, it should work. But right now, I am going to implement the secondary logic. I have implemented already in the controller part, REST controller advice. Now I'd like to do it in different way. I would like to go and create separate class on, I'll say alien aspect oriented programming. And I want this to hand over to my Spring. A generic annotation I can use here because it is not specific. I'll say component. And this is my secondary logic. How should I say? What is that? This is an aspect. This is my secondary logic. After which I will write here public void. Maybe I'll say here before, whatever method name, guys. Method name need not to be this. Before I advise. Method name, you give your girlfriend name, not a problem. Maybe I will just say here. I want to also show you what is that point the integration is happening. A point where the integration is happening, join point, right? I would like to create the reference of join point here. Join point. Type join point. Okay. I would like to import this. It is imported. Join point from the aspect. It is imported. And I just want to print some message. Whatever you can write a separate logic here. But I'm just printing one message here. I will say here request made to. I would like to go back. Plus I will say join point dot get the signature of a method. What is the exact point the integration is happening? I would like to say here at what time. I would like to say local time, maybe local time dot now. Current what time the integration happened, that information. And I want this to be executed. If I have to go back to my board work, advise means before advise, after that means when the aspect logic should execute. And if you say before, executes before the business logic. I will say here, go back at the top, and I would like to say before. Before means execute the business logic. And if you want, you can specify the point cut expression, guys. What is a point cut expression? I will say here value equals to. I will write the point cut expression. And what is point cut? Point cut decides which primary logic or business logic, secondary logic, the aspect should be applied on. If you don't write point cut expression, what will happen in that case, guys? If you don't write point cut expression, what will happen? Anyone in the class who are listening to the lecture? Point cut expression, it will be by default secondary and aspect will be applied to all the methods. Are you all there? So point cut expression, I would like to write it. I will write here. Please here. Please apply to the execution of a method with any return type. Method with any return type means this. Any return type. I'll say com dot on which classes? There is a class inside a package called as com dot telesco dot AOP app, right? AOP app is a package. App dot, what is the folder name? Rest. Rest dot, I will say here alien controller. Alien control. Or if I say only this much and say star, any class inside this package, inside that class, any method, and that method can accept any number of parameters. I want this particular method, this particular aspect to be applied on such a method which has any return type, and that method is present inside a package called as com.telesco.aopapp.rest. Inside this package, any class, inside that class, any method, that method can accept any number of parameters, anything as return type. Are you all there, guys? Now this will be applied to the service layer methods or controller layer methods right now. Excuse me, guys. Controller. Any controller after all, even if you have multiple controllers, will this be applied to all controllers? Yes, all controllers. If you want, you can write like this also. If you want it to be specific controller, no. Excuse me, guys. I would like to say instead of star, I would like to specify the name of the controller. Example, I'll say here alien controller. You can specify the method name also. If you want this to be applied to a specific method, mention the method name. If you want it to be applied to a method which is accepting a specific parameter, mention the parameter name. Need not write generic. If you want a return type to a specific type, mention that in place of star. So guys, this is difficult to understand, but I hope you have understood. Any return type, the method can have any return type. It should be present inside this class. Any method, all the methods of this class, Any parameter. It can accept any number of arguments. Done, every one of you? Yes, no, maybe. Now, guys, I would like to go back here. I would like to go back and now execute this if I have to execute. Right now, guys, there is no method execution. I'll make a call. See, nothing is there on your console. I'll go to my Postman tool. I'll hit this enter point. All the methods is what I have told, right? All the methods is what I have told. Guys, are you getting? Request made to response entity com.risco AOP alien controls get alien. What is the point get signature? I have got it. Because of that, I am getting this. At what time? At this time. So whatever logic you have written here, that is getting executed to every method of controller. I want this to be executed of every method of the service layer also. What is the big deal here? I will write method name, any method name you can write, guys. I will write service just to have a differentiating factor. And in place of alien controller, package also different. Now, what is the package, guys? I want this to be applied to the packages service, I guess. If you write only star, it will be applied to everywhere. If you want, you can specify. I'll say here maybe alien service. Any method to alien service. Any method to alien service. And now I have made the changes. You can see, I'll make a request again. I'll make a request 2 times. You'll get this. If I have to go back, see here, I will be getting that 2 times. What is the proof? See, request made to the method signature I'm printing. Join point, a point where the AOP is integrated with the main logic. I'm telling here, request made to response entity. And also you're getting list is a return type. Return type is list. com.risco.service is the package name, class name, and method is get all aliens info. Method is get all info. So you can see it is getting applied to the all the methods of service layer also, controller layer also, based on the point cut expression. So have you all understood what is point cut expression means? What is point cut expression all about, guys? Point cut expression means what? Which decides secondary logic. The aspect should be applied on what methods? Where and all you want to apply the aspect, correct? So whatever definition I had given here, I hope it is justifying. Which primary logic the aspect should be applied on. I have decided where and all I want it to be applied. Like before we have after also, guys. Like before we have after also. In place of before annotation, I would like to use after. After every controller method call, after every service layer method call, just to have a differentiating factor, method name can be anything. I like to write after. Now 4 times you can see if I have to go back here and if I have to go to my one method call, if I make, you can see 4 things will get it. See here, guys, before control is also getting called business logic, and after also 2 times I'm getting, because after business logic and after the controller logic I have told. I hope it is making sense to everyone present in the class. Yes, no, maybe. All of you. Any ambiguity to anyone, my dear friends? Now in our global exception handling example, guys, what did we had written? If I have to go back there, if I have to open the logic of advice, I had used one annotation, REST controller advice. That means this class should be executed if there is any exception traveling to the controller part. That means this should be executed whenever there is an exception going to the any classes which is annotated with REST controller. Yes, that is the secondary logic in this case. What I'm trying to say is you can write any logic here. You can write any logic. So if I have specified the point cut expression, I have told that this logic, whatever code you write, whatever code it could be, this code must be executed before making call to this particular controller, whatever point cut expression you have told. So point cut expression means where and all the secondary logic you want to apply. Whatever logic you write in this doesn't matter. Saiji. In our case, that is the case. So whatever logic it is there, this should be applied to all the point cut expression I have told here. Where and all it should be applied to. Making sense? All of you? So just to summarize, guys, what is AOP all about? What is AOP first of all? Aspect-oriented programming is what, guys? What is AOP? If someone asks, don't say aspect-oriented programming. You are defining yourself there. You can say AOP. First of all, AOP stands for aspect-oriented programming, which is there to separate the main logic with the cross-cutting logic. Cross-cutting logic refers to the secondary logic, a supporting logic to the main logic, the main functionality of your application. It could be logging, it could be handling the exceptions, it could be the security part. And AOP is there to separate the main logic with the cross-cutting logic. And we have some important terminologies here. Number one is aspect. Aspect refers to the actual secondary logic, the logic which is there to support the business logic. Advice refers to when that actual logic should be executed. And you can decide that by using the point cut expression also, that the secondary logic should be applied to which and all business methods. By default, the default nature of the aspect is it will be applied to all the main functionality methods. That's the default nature. But by using the point cut expression, we can decide that the secondary logic can be applied to a specific methods of business logic. How do we do that? By achieving the point cut, by writing the point cut expression. And how to write the point cut expression? We have also seen that in our code. Done, everyone? Yes, no, maybe. And apart from that, one of the use case in the global exception handling also we have seen, but these terminologies are very, very important. AOP is not just about whatever we have discussed. It can be more than this also. There are some good practices about the AOP. If time permits in the microservices journey, again I will try to discuss that. But for now, to start with, have you all got the clarity of what is AOP, what do you mean by that, what is the purpose of which, and all the important terminologies which is involved in the family of AOP? Have you all understood about that, my dear friends, for now? Every other one in the class. It's more than that, okay? But this is sufficient if you want to explore more than this also for now. And I want you to explore good practices and other things are there. If time permits, I would also try to go through it going forward in our classes, okay? Spring security is the next part, guys. And Spring security, not to risk it, I will do it in two ways. What is the two way if you ask me? I will do it in the live class. Naveen sir's new content recorded is also there. So I will share you the recorded content also. What do you mean by that? I will teach in the live class also. A recorded content of Naveen sir also will be given to you, so that maybe if you are not understanding the configuration from my end in my live classes, I don't want you to compromise. I want you to understand it very well. So Naveen sir's content also will be shared with you. So both, if you do it, maybe if there is any mismatch in my part, you can understand from there, so that security, token-based authentication, OAuth, everything properly before we get into the other topics after security. So I might take 3 classes in live, or maximum 4 if configurations are heavy. But if I take some 10-15 minutes extra, I have a plan of completing within 3 days. and then we will do Redis multi-DB configuration, project discussion, followed by microservices. In the microservices API gateway, I will discuss API gateway routing filtering, circuit breaker pattern, retry pattern, a Eureka server, Zipkin server, admin server, Spring Cloud server, Fiend client, how multiple APIs or microservices can communicate with each other by using the service name registered in the service registry Eureka server. That I'll discuss, and how to make application resilient. Someone had asked me that in the interview they had asked the question that how to make application resilient if in case one service is making call to another service, in case of failure, if that application fails, how to write, how to make it. That means they're asking how to implement resilience 4J library. They're asking how to implement circuit breaker pattern. They're asking about the fallback logic. So that also we may have to discuss in the microservices part. All good? So that is a major topics of microservices, guys. If you say I know microservices, what and all you must know? You must know about Eureka server, which is service registry. You must know about Zipkin server, admin server, Spring Cloud server, Fiend client to communicate between multiple microservices, API gateway, load balancing, you should be knowing it, and routing and filtering, you should be knowing it, and how to make application resilient, which is circuit breaker pattern, retry pattern, also you should be knowing it. That is a minimum thing you must know about microservices. That's a minimum thing. Okay, so all that will be discussed in our microservices, and microservices also will get the content in two ways. I will do live, fully live, everything. Also you'll get content from Naveen sir and my own recording, so you'll get both there also, just in case you are getting used to it. Okay, so that we shall start from most probably next Thursday or Friday's class. So that's all for today, my dear friends. Tomorrow I'm traveling, guys. So most probably I'm not available to take the class. Naveen sir and me both are traveling actually. React, Aditya, no. But for one of the batch of Spring, Naveen sir had done the React live class training by one of the trainer free of cost, just as a complimentary. Maybe that classes recordings might be there. I will check with my team and ask that into your dashboard. Okay, I'll ask our team to add that into your dashboard also. But to understand the React, JavaScript is needed, and I suggest you to watch Naveen sir's JavaScript playlist available in the Telesco YouTube channel. Without JavaScript, React you cannot understand. Can someone understand Spring, guys, without Java? No, right? Similarly, without JavaScript, React cannot be understand. I'll ask our team, guys, to add the React content of previous batch where we have taught live by one of the trainer as a complimentary, as a surprise training. We wanted to give something extra, so we have done it. Maybe that recording I will add it in your dashboard. But before that, watch JavaScript videos from Telesco YouTube channel. Gradle also we will do it. 1 or 2 projects on Gradle, can we do it? I think who is asking this? Vaibhav is asking. Let's do it, Vaibhav. 1 or 2 projects. I'll discuss what is Gradle, how Gradle is different from Maven. Gradle is not just for Java, guys. It is for Go also, Groovy also, Java also. I know it is not only for Java. The build tool, whatever Maven can do, Gradle can also do. But Maven is specific only to Java. Maven is only for Java. Gradle is for Go also, Groovy also, Java also, other languages also. Okay. Also, GraphQL, many requests are coming. I'll try to discuss. DevOps course will be announced today or tomorrow, guys. DevOps course will be announced today and tomorrow. Just to show you what I'm going to teach in the DevOps. Guys, this is the content which I'm going to discuss in the DevOps. The content I'm going to discuss is first weekend. I'll discuss general. No prerequisite, guys. Even if you're zero into the world of DevOps, not a problem. Zero prerequisite, because I will discuss first weekend this. Generally, I'll discuss. Then Linux and Linux commands and shell scripting. For 3 weekends, I'll discuss. Okay. We may launch other batches. Okay, this is the second part. After which I will discuss AWS. All the services will be discussed in AWS. In general, as a backend developer, senior backend developer and DevOps engineer, whatever AWS knowledge is required, everything I will discuss. All of these things will be discussed. AWS. I might take again 1 month of time for this. Then Git and GitHub Live I will discuss. Then Docker, Kubernetes, this content, everything in depth, no compromise. Jenkins, Ansible, Terraform, SonarQube, some projects, and the interview tips. 4 months, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Indian Standard Time, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Saturdays and Sundays. For 4 months, everything I will be discussing as a senior backend developer, or you can be a proper DevOps engineer. You can get into the cloud also if you want, with enough of knowledge which I'm going to give here. But it is more focused on DevOps. AWS part I'm covering not by considering the AWS certification. I'm covering by considering as a DevOps engineer or as a backend engineer in general, whatever cloud knowledge in general, real-time knowledge you need, that part I'm going to discuss. Registration will open today or tomorrow, guys. And see, Zoom has specific number of parts, and it is limited only, because beyond certain point, Zoom will not take into webinars. Okay, so based on that point, the enrollments. After which next batch you can join, because Telescope. See, I'm taking all of your names. We take limited admissions only. We ask them to join our next batch after limited admissions. We have advised many of people to join the next batch. After, for even Spring Boot also same is the case. Though we had some seats, but we have told to join next batch. That goes with this also. Third weekend is what we are starting. Third weekend of January for 4 months. But I'm pretty sure after 3 months, you can attend the interviews with confidence. And it took a lot of time, guys. From 5 months, I'm preparing the content. It is being approved by the experts. Practically worked on that. Discussed with so many industry experts, architects. Naveen sir took a lot of time for the approval from many people, not one. Verified the content. With lot of filtration, finally we came to a conclusion of this content. I'm not sure about the cost, but you will have a discount, Aditya. You'll have a discount. You don't worry about the cost. You tell that you are a part of Telescope family, so they'll give you discounts. Okay, it's live 4 months in-depth content, guys. Don't compromise. If you want to get into really, and you can trust me, I'll put my heart and soul there to make sure you are understanding everything. If not, you can refer your friends also if they are into it. You can refer all your friends. Dashboard, it will be added today or tomorrow. You can take Praveen. As a testing person, if you take, you can make a switch to DevOps engineer job. Cloud computing DevOps engineer or backend engineer job, you can switch, Praveen. Recording will be available, Kington. Same like this. Recordings will be available. Guys, Linux only I'm teaching for 3 weekends. It's in-depth course, guys. No compromise. I'm going to teach in-depth. Everything in-depth, in general. And 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Indian Standard Time. 3 hours. 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Saturdays and Sundays. 9 a.m. Indian time to 12 p.m. 12 p.m. will end, because by the time in US it will be 2 a.m. in some of the zones. Saturday and Sunday, that means in US it will be US Canada, it will be Friday night and Saturday night. US and Canada it will be Friday night, Saturday night. Maybe they can complete all their tasks and Friday night, Saturday night they can spend with us. Anyway, these days everyone is sleeping at 1 a.m. only. In India, abroad, everywhere. That has become one trend or practice, default practice. But people in Europe zone, For them, it will be 3-4 hours early. That means they have to wake up early morning, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. People in Europe and London, I know the timing, but it's okay. All right, guys. Thank you. Tomorrow, no class. Next, when are we meeting, guys? We are meeting next on Monday, start of spring security on Monday's class. See you all inside the class on Monday. Thank you all, guys. Thank you everyone for being with me in today's class. Someone had asked me something. Sorry. You will get the discounts, Kalyani. You will get it. Ask our team. Reach out to the number which is there in the dashboard. Thank you, guys. Thank you, every one of you.